So you pick the item up, you make payment afterwards. Now when we come to our traditional West African markets, it's different. For instance, if you want to purchase an item, you ask the vendor how much is it. He or she tells you the price, and then you haggle or you bargain before buying. Now that was exactly how the captives were sold here. So what happened was that the middlemen, the Africans who brought the captives from the interior, right from Asen Manso, where the captives had their last buy, these middlemen bring them here to the Calabar Hall, and over there will be British merchants waiting to buy the captives. These British merchants had their physicians who would examine the captives for their physical strength. And afterwards, they would exchange them for goods such as guns, gunpowder, fabrics, tobacco, mirrors, other petty items, totally devaluing the captives. Then after buying these captives, the British merchants would brand them for identification. So this was done by heating metals called branded irons in fire. Metals were taken directly from the fire to the captive's skin to show whether a captive belonged to this particular group or the other. Yes.
So like how would they treat the bone?
Usually they do not treat the wound. Sometimes they had palm oil or shea butter that they used on it, but that was all.
If it kills you, you are gone.
Yes.
If you are lucky, they burn the person for what reason?
Come again. To identify, like, for identification, right? So this is mine. She is his. You get it. It's your property now. What's the person? The person belongs to you. They are your chattel.
So if the person dies,
It's like a tribal man.
To identify. And these people had insurance companies. Okay, so sometimes when they lost their captives, they could get their money back. You show your company proof of purchase and
so the Magdalens were just
Like goods.
yes. They got a theory that were biologically inferior, right? So they had a right to treat us, to subject us. We should even be fortunate that they are coming to civilize us. That was the theory they had when they were coming. Yes. So they subjected the African people to all sorts of cruelty.
So do they have this table that time?
They didn't have that at that time. Even the floors and ceilings are not original. The original ceilings are these, the black ones here. Yes. So you can have a look at it. And then we descend, we are going to see the male from there cell. That was the end goal. And some of us died. You know, the dead ones, it would be decent if the dead were removed from the living, right? And that was not what happened. The dead were left in there with the living until the last person amongst them dies. So in addition to starving, suffocating, you have dead captives. Yes, because you will be left in there more depressed. And that was what they had to endure before they die as punishment. Just for fighting, I wouldn't even say they were fighting for their freedom. So this door here, this is the only original 17th century door in the castle. All the other doors have been renovated, but this is original. So please come with me. We have a watch point to the tunnel. This was where male captives were brought to be punished, those who rebelled. Now, because of the various means of acquiring the captives, they had criminals, they have debtors, prominent people, people from all walks of life being captured and enslaved. And some of these persons had been brought all the way from Timbuktu. They were walking all the way to the south. They had been separated from their families. They did not know what awaited them. All they knew was that they had been enslaved. And so they resisted. But the resistance on the part of the male captives came with a punishment. For the men, this punishment was death by starvation and suffocation. So if a male captive tried fighting for his freedom, if he tried resisting, if he did not comply, he would be brought in here to to the male condemned cell. And at that time, they had 3 doors shut on them. 3 including this door, which is quite thick. These 3 doors were shut on them. They were left in there deprived of food, deprived of water. There was no ventilation in the condemned cell as well, no lights. So these men were taken in there alive, but their dead bodies were brought out. So I want us to go into the condemned cell. If you can, I will close this door. I will turn off the light in there for a few seconds, and then you come back outside to see what it's like. So please, if you can, tunnel that I spoke of. We have seen the entrance. We have seen a watch point to the tunnel. This side was the exit of the tunnel. So starting from the male slave dungeon, male captives would come out from this side. The female slave dungeons are outside to my right, but then the female captives did not have a tunnel. So just as we entered, the women came in through this door. Men from this side, women from this door, and over here was a door. This was the initial door of no return, where both male and female captives exited the castle. But the sea came in through this door. It was flooding the place, it was disrupting activities. And so the British officials decided to wall this side up. They blocked it and they created a new door of no return, which we will see and walk through. So let's go out. We have some few places to see. Slave dungeons. They had 2 chambers. This chamber, we have the other one. And in each chamber, like this, there were about 150 to 250 enslaved African women, making a total of 300 or 500 women. We realized that the male captives outnumbered the females. The males were about 1,000 over there, sometimes more. The males were taken for one reason only, to work on the plantations. The females were taken to work and to increase the population, so that on the plantations, when they gave birth, their children automatically became enslaved persons who would be bought, sold, and owned. And in here, they faced similar conditions as the men. They left their waste materials here. They stayed here for about 2 weeks to 3 months. This was where they would pass their urine. And these 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, were their only sources of light and ventilation. But there was a window. There is a window here behind us. That window was not big. It had metal bars divided. And if any of the British men wanted to have any of the African women, they would stand outside that window to look through and make their choices around the woman.
So if the woman don't want to know, hide over here.
Yes, but sometimes they will come with lanterns to,
Inside.
yes, inside to make their selection. If you resist, then you end up.
So this being the urinal, where is the number 2?
The feces. The feces
they
is
will
what
put
you
the
are
feces
standing on
on
it.
the floor.
And
They stay
And
with
they will
them.
still be.
It's like cows. See the way the cows do it? They stay.
As if you are foul.
Exactly.
Foul.
Both fowls release their feces, they remain there.
And they were eating the
What?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
because if you are not being fed,
How
anything becomes candy.
I really don't.
It serves 2 purposes.
Was the door of no return. Initially, it was short and narrow. Was expanded like this during British colonial rule for goods to pass through. And this is the door that separated many of our ancestors from their homeland. This is where many began their journey to the African diaspora. And from this door, because this castle was operated by the British, captives from here were taken to places such as the United States, Jamaica, Barbados, and other British colonies to work on plantations. From here, the captives lost their identities. All the African names that they bore were taken away from them and replaced with Christian names, and their masters said these were different people from various parts of West Africa. You would have Hausa, Fulani, Yoruba, Akan, Dagomba, Ga, different people being mixed up. So these persons could not communicate, could not speak the same language, so that they would plan for a rebellion, which was beneficial to the slave masters. On the plantations also they suffered similar or even worse fate, because their children were born into slavery. They had to work tirelessly all year round from dawn till dusk, while constantly being brutalized. From the door of no return, the captives left, never to come back. But we would walk through the door of no return and walk right back inside. So please come with me.
I love the view.
No, look, I'm returning.
So I had this story about
Two dead bodies of our brothers and sisters from the diaspora. One body was that of a man from New York called Samuel Cassie. The other body was of a woman from Jamaica called Crystal. The two bodies were flown to Accra, Ghana. You know Fort Amsterdam. So from Accra, the bodies were brought on board to Abanze near Fort Amsterdam. From there, they were brought on sea so that they would use the same Atlantic Ocean that their ancestors were transported on. They were brought to pass through the door of return. The castle, they organized a short African funeral ceremony called the Great Homecoming. Those two bodies were later reburied at Asen Manso, where the captives had their last bath. So that's
no
what
one return alive.
No, only us and people now coming back. Yes, nobody will be there. So you can take photos now, and then we go inside. Look at these staircases in and out the castle, and the sea was right below the stairs. It was. You can come closer to see it. It was right here, but then the ships that took the captives could not bear here. So they brought in smaller boats like these ones.
So meaning that this place is water then?
Yes, there was water. This is a new development by Ghana government. So 2020 they started. Before 2020 the sea was here. 2019, 2018 the sea would come here. So they will bring the boats here, take the captives to the ships about 10 minutes away. And the journey from here across the Atlantic Ocean was called the Middle Passage. On the ships, also the misery of the captives continued. They would pack them tightly together, facing horrifying conditions. And a lot of them wanted to commit suicide because they believed that when they died, their souls would come. But even that was difficult because they were chained together, could not commit suicide. If you tried by starving, the British had devices. There was one device called speculum oris. They would use it to force the mouth of the captive open. They would give you food forcibly, so that in a way that you cannot take your own life, they would decide whether you died or lived. They could throw you in the sea, but you could not take your own life. This community that we see was only occupied by the British. Africans were forbidden from coming there, and so they called it the White Man's Beach. In Fanti we say Aboko One. But today we have Africans living all over, and it's a Christian one party or the other. Africans were the victims, but there were some African participants hands in the slave trade. As well, there was heavy European involvement in the transatlantic slave trade. I would want to say that we have to make sure, taking inspiration from the message the chiefs brought, saying that all of us human beings, regardless of our races, backgrounds, have to make sure we do not repeat yesterday's mistakes, especially not on a scale as large as this, where more than 10 million Africans were captured, taken away, and treated in such a cruel manner. So thank you very much for your audience. Once again, I'm Felicia Bentisam. This is the end of our presentation.
One more question. Was there the Africans who were selling the other Africans to the merchants?
Yes, mostly it was Africans, right? Because Africans had an organized system. It was not easy for the Europeans to go and capture them. The Portuguese tried, and it was terribly dangerous. And so from then onwards, they were using. They were using Africans as strings to get them. So in the introduction, I mentioned that you were not here. I mentioned that sometimes if there were wars between the ethnic groups, the prisoners of war would be sold into slavery. The Europeans contracted some African men whom they called slave raiders. These men were to scout, to capture, to get captives and sell. So sometimes they would just cause chaos, right? You'd be in a town and the whole town, they would set fire around. So it was a trap. If you were running in desperation, you would just be captured. And so sometimes they would just start violent slave raidings. If you would run to the side and be captured, they would set traps all over to Makala.
Done by Africans.
Yes, they gave them guns. So these guns were motivations, right? You can bring captives, the Europeans would give you a gun. This same gun would serve as a motivation because only a few Africans had guns then, and so you get more captives.
When they fighting with Ethiopia, they lost it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why Ethiopia.